you're a little bit curious about, anything that you saw on stream, you want a little bit more detail, any ideas you'd like to see on stream, feel free to shoot myself or Danny an email there, and we will get back to you, either responding directly in email to your question, or it might inspire us to do something to address on stream. And that's all of our announcements. Today's project, we're going to be doing a little bit of a repose of Ye Olde Cara Sloan here. What we're going to be doing, roughly, is taking her so she's a little bit less casual, holding her rifle up like this, and we're going to be reposing her so that she's actually using it like the total badass sniper that she is.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so these are going to be techniques that people can use, can apply to other minis that they're doing as well?
Oh, absolutely. I love reposing models. Just, it gives them that little personal feel to every little army where, you know, it's not like everybody else's, and anything that catches the eye, makes it your own, is a big thing for me. All right, so before we get going here, Kalen, tell it, what is it you actually do here at Privateer Press? Like digital engineer, what does that mean?
So what that means is I'm kind of the front end of what Brian ends up doing. I actually get the 3D model, and then I am responsible for making it as reproducible as possible, and also bringing it up into its different components, where it'll keep its same aesthetic, hopefully, and be able to be cast in metal and resin. And hopefully easy for you guys to put together as well, and a fun hobbying experience.
Yeah, I know one of the big things you do is the joint fitting and stuff like that. And
the
like,
keying and
the keys just right.
So you make all the keys, decide where models get, you know, once the sculpt is done, where it kind of gets sliced into parts and divide it up?
Yeah, and I kind of decide like what key goes where, and how best it's going to be for the end user when everyone's trying to put it together, because I know it's kind of a hassle when your model has like flat keys or something like that. So I try to make it as meaty as possible so people actually enjoy the hobbying experience.
Did you work on the resolutes?
The resolutes, I think I did. Yeah, I did.
So the key for the guy holding the rifle with his two hands, where it has kind of like, it's not like a ball joint, but it's like almost like a rolling pin like style thing, and it just pops in, and then his arm just pops over.
Yep.
It's so good.
Good.
Yep.
I love hearing that, because that's I love when people actually come back to me and say that, oh yeah, that key worked really well, and I'm glad you did it like that, and it was super easy to put together. And when people say, oh man, this one really sucked, I would get really upset, and I try to do better about it moving forward.
Yeah. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
First project here, first thing I'm looking at here is I'm just kind of like dry fitting a lot of things. It's a lot of like guess and check work, because these models weren't designed to specifically do this. So it's a lot of like pre-planning and then trying to make it do what it's not originally intended. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of getting that scope lined up in front of her eye where I would like it to go. And what I've had to do is, normally her arm is coming like a nice flat plane like this, is just, we've got this really nice super soft metal, so you can do some actual just bending a little bit just to get it a little bit more where you want. So what I'm doing is just bending it right at the wrist section right there, and just bend it a little bit so it gets around her chest a little more to accommodate where we're going to be putting this arm. Because if you see here, we've got her arm nub, which is this male side of the key is turned up. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to twist it down and then bend the arm, kind of like her shoulder joint is coming from up here more forward like that. So the way we're going to do that is, we could just take and bend it that way, but then it tends to have like, if you think your upper arm, and I always think about this anatomically, and I'll usually like practice with my own body a little bit before I start reposing something.
Yeah, that's a great reference.
And like, my upper arm doesn't bend. I don't know about other people.
So you'd like to maintain that being somewhat straight.
Yeah, somewhat straight.
And keeping the bend at the elbow.
Exactly. So, or at the end at the shoulder joint.
Sure.
So the way I'm going to have to do that is, I can't just straight bend this arm point, because the metal is just going to want to bend a little bit and like create that curve. So what I'm going to have to do is create kind of I'll cut a little bit of a notch out of there so that it can bend without having to displace material out of the way.
Get rid of some of the material that's in the way.
Yeah, just accommodate for what you're wanting to do with it. So taking my little jeweler saw here, it's a very, very, very super fine hacksaw effectively. and it is really good at just cutting through our material like
Center up.
butter.
Center up, Brian.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, I want to see this. So, I mean, one of the things that you're saying here is like, as you're going through this process, you're not just trying to get that arm to fit, but you're really paying attention to like what the real anatomy would be, and then modifying your sculpt to match what that would actually be there.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'll often do too is do like little sketches just off screen, like off somewhere else. I've got like just rough little pencil drawings or whatever, just kind of giving me ideas, because what'll often happen is I'll start going on a project and forget where I'm at, and then I'll just have like a little jot note to
A little reference.
Yeah. It's usually like storyboarding or whatever that, or blueprints. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some big old honking pliers here. Most people usually have something smaller. This is just what I happen to have lying around. And I'm going to try and start bending this, because this is soft metal, but it doesn't quite work just bending it with your fingers. It's just a little bit tough. But what I don't want to do is, because this is super soft, I don't want to use the pliers directly on the metal, because it will transfer the grips from the pliers right on there. So what I'll do is put a little bit of cloth over the part, just to kind of create that.
It's so smart.
Yeah, just a little bit of softness, and then slowly
Center up.
slowly bend it up. Just go nice and easy, because this metal is very fragile, and it does have a tendency to just snap off if you take it too hard and too fast.
What are some of the best practices while you're doing this, Brian? Like, I imagine this is something that you're saying you make notes and you just kind of go into with some patience, take it slow, or is it something you can kind of just, go into, kind of hack apart, do whatever, and get where you need to be?
A lot of guess and check, trial and error. I'll usually go, like, if I want to do something, I'll just take like a snipped off tab and just, okay, how far can I take this metal before it reaches that point of failure? And just kind of like bend it around a bit, see what it does. Extra bits that I have kicking around, I'll often take those and see what happens as well. And
Have you tried exposing it to heat and seeing if that changes how it?
I have, actually, and the melting temperature for our metal is low enough that there's a really, really fine line between getting just soft enough and then melting. So I've actually tried it a few times, and it just ends up melting it like every single time.
So just too dangerous?
Yeah.
Slow Fuse is agreeing with you, is it don't heat white metal.
Yeah, and what it ends up happening too is it messes with like the crystal structure of the metal itself,
Right.
And you'll just lose detail. Like, it'll just get all pitted and gross, and not terribly great. So trying to bend that there. I'm still having to check a little bit more, and I am just currently digging out a little bit more metal in that arm so I can bend it a little more. Well, thank you very much for saying you love the hobby hangouts. I have a lot of fun doing them. Barrels of blasting powder on the galleon.
Yeah, and again, of course, if you have any specific hobby
like
questions for Brian or Danny, please email and send questions. They can get to them, try to answer them on stream, or perhaps even dedicate a whole episode to whatever technique you have questions about.
Yeah. Like this one in particular, I had a question not too long ago about getting model fit right. Mm-hmm. And this one doesn't directly apply to that, but it kind of does, in that we're having to readjust the fit of models. Like, what we're going to do once we get this right arm adjusted is we're going to go in with the jeweler saw, and we're going to be cutting off the hand off of her hip, and then end up just straight cutting it off at the elbow joint here,
rotate it up.
and then rotate it up, and then if we have time, we're going to be resculpting the hand so that it's wrapping around the grip of the rifle.
So you're having to make a whole new hand for that.
Yeah, there's like despite how thin the blade is on this, you're still going to lose some material.
Yeah.
And when you're working with something as fiddly as a hand, you lose any detail or any amount of material, and
Sure.
you're not going to have it. So.
And so, but her original hand is on the rifle itself. So at some point, you're going to have to take that hand off.
Oh no! Her she's actually holding her rifle straight up, and her hand isn't
Oh,
attached.
see, okay,
Yeah,
I see. The under on the barrel side. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I was confused.
Her hand is actually like a fist that's just on her hip, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. So we got just about the bend we're looking for there. It's a little.
So then you are going to need to take the hand off of her hip, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we're going to be slicing that off there and getting that reposed. So we got that just about the angle we're looking for. Go a little more. And again, this is one of those slower, time-consuming things because if you mess it up, then you mess up the whole model.
Center up, Brian.
RuneWise does conversions the way I do it. He said, I can also achieve that bend, but only by repeatedly dropping a model off the table over the course of several years. That's how I do
I'm a
conversions.
practical expert at that type
It's
of conversion.
it's like, oh, it broke. Need to redo it.
Yeah, I've had a couple of plastic kits that I accidentally dropped, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, now I need to, it broke perfectly at the hips, the ankles, and all of its arms. So it's like, well, I guess I'm doing a repose.
It's a perfect opportunity for a conversion.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times I'm cutting them off at the joints anyways, so. All right. So you can see the nub there is now just about where we want it. Again, let's just go back in and dry fit that.
Center up.
So we've still got a little bit more to go. I'm actually going to try something a little more aggressive. We're going to put it just down. I know it's out of focus. I apologize. Flatten it there, and then just effectively roll it to try and get that joint exactly where we need it.
And you're just trying to bend it where
Yep.
you want it? Okay.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Like, I much prefer working with resin and plastic when I get a chance because it's so much easier to heat and pose, carve away. Like, you can do so much more with it. Metal, you really have to just work it hard to get it exactly where you need to go with it.
But not too hard because you might break it.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a fine line for that. Gouge out a little bit more on the metal here. And we do have a little bit of a bend in the going on in that upper arm there. It's not too bad, but what I might end up doing is I'll just take a file and just shave that down a bit if it really drives me nuts at all. How dare you knock around Tony's equipment?
It's my first stream. I'm a mess.
I didn't even see it. So if you hadn't called him out, he'd be like,
Oh,
I would have never
so
noticed.
bad.
I've seen similar questions come up a couple of times, and as far as this arm, the one that was originally holding the rifle,
Yep.
what do you like about this method versus, say, having cut off at the shoulder and rotating?
If I cut it off at the shoulder and then rotate it, kind of a thing, it's just having to do a lot more work with tiny fiddly bits, I find.
Sure.
And working with the material already attached, I don't have to repin anything. I don't have to, like, if I cut it off at an angle, I'm losing material.
Sure.
That may not be in the place that I would like it to be lost. And then having to readjust angles at precision angles, because if I take, a thing like that and cut it this way, now I have to remove this material over here to
account for that.
account for that. Yeah. So it's always a give and take. And I just kind of prefer doing it that way. All right. So we're getting pretty close to where I want.
Oh yeah. So the gap between a forearm and her original elbow is much smaller now.
Yeah, it's getting there. And then as I'm fitting this here, what I'm seeing is because she's going to be putting like this side of the rifle is butted up more into her shoulder, kind of in a firing stance. It's not front facing, it's kind of hidden. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up cutting away some of that material on this side just to
Just to make the fit.
yeah,
sink
just
in a
it'll
little bit
snug in
better.
a little bit better because
And
if
since
it's
you
not
don't
outward,
see it, it totally works.
yeah, if it's not outward facing detail, it doesn't really need to be there. So we're gonna just take some emery board here.
I think that's something a lot of people who start with adjusting their models from the way they originally produced struggle with, is that they think it has to be perfect from all angles, as opposed to just if it's not being seen, it's occluded by something, just take it out. It's no big deal.
No, it's funny too. There's one that comes to mind is the Assyria model, the yoga floating retribution model.
Yeah.
I've seen when Doug was sculpting that one, I remember him like T-posing her when she was being originally sculpted, and her proportions were a little bit weird, but then as soon as you put it in the pose that it was like intended to be in, all of a sudden it just comes together and looks right.
Yeah.
And it's just because of miniatures, like
Proportions are
just the sculpting.
outrageous.
Like, yeah. All right. So we got a little bit of that material taken off there. And getting pretty close. You'll also find that you can kind of get to a point where it's like, okay, that's close enough. I'm going to just fill it with putty and then
absolutely
blend it in. But I think I can get a little bit more. So we got the super, super tiny, but the little divot where that socket would go in, it's not going to fit exactly the way that's supposed to go. So this side over here is the up against her chest side. And what I'm going to do is just carve out a little bit of that there. Just kind of make space for that nub there.
Now, these techniques that you're showing, would these be applicable to something like a resin model?
Oh, absolutely. The resin is actually super nice to work with for that because you can carve it a lot more nicely with just a hobby knife. You don't have to do a whole hell of a lot more to get it to work. And you can do the heat gun trick. So you just take a heat gun, heat it up a little bit, bend it to where you want, and then just hold it in that position until it cools off again, and it'll stay in that position a lot better.
I've definitely noticed I can do more with resin because of that. I, however, have to go even slower than I do with metal because anything that ends up getting over-exaggerated is, for me, a little bit harder to fix.
Yeah. So also looking here, I'm just about there, but what I'm finding is her right breast is actually just clipping the forearm a little bit more. So I have a choice. Do I shave down the back of the hand, or do I just shave down the top of the breast area there a little bit so that I can set in there? I think what I'm going to do is just shave down the top a little bit more because it's a little easier to access this area of the model.
And it's probably the part that's going to be the least visible anyway.
Exactly. It's being hidden by a big old sniper rifle, so no big deal.
Yeah, and with the metal being so soft, pushing down and trying to remove some material, you might end up bending the gun a little bit more than you'd want to.
Exactly.
Accidentally.
And the more you bend something, if you bend it over and over and over again, think like a paper clip, it does fatigue the metal to a point where it is super fragile.
Less bending, better.
Yep.
More dry fitting, good.
Exactly. I'm constantly dry fitting things as I'm hobbying. All right.
Square up. There you go.
Like I said, I'm super bad about drifting off camera because I'm trying to keep things in focus with the camera, but I'm used to working at like this close to my
Right up next
face.
to your eyeball.
Yep.
We just need to make a box where your hands have to stay within this box. And just,
I would love a
Is
go.
he the Kwisatz Haderach?
yeah.
The what?
The dank Dune memes.
What's in the box? Pain.
Pain in miniatures.
So one of the reasons that we had John on the show today was to tell us a little bit about some upcoming convention stuff. So
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I have a purpose
Yes.
other than providing fantastic color commentary.
Contrary to popular thought, yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Adepticon this year?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so Adepticon is coming up March 25th. Yes, March 25th through the 29th, and it's a little bit extra special this year. One, because Travis will be there like usual, and that always makes things special. Hi, Travis, love you. But the other reason is, well, twofold. One, we have moved the Formula P3 Grandmaster Painting Competition. We used to do one at Gen Con, and because of the hobby crowd at Adepticon and just like the stellar type of stuff I've seen there, as well as some of the other folks here like Jordan, we had a big discussion and we were like, well, let's do the Grandmaster at Adepticon, where like the crowd is perfect for that. And needless to say, that'll be happening. You can find the details for the rules for the Grandmaster competition, as well as some of the other details on privateerpress.com. I'm sure Tony will fire a link into chat here any second. Oh, look at that. Done.
Whoa.
Only for Twitch. Hold on. Facebook has to wait a second.
I always encourage people of any skill level, from beginner to, extremely popular and monetized commission painter, submit your models. It is amazing to get the feedback and critique from people like Jordan and some of our other studio staff, because it's a great way to improve. Like, it's just...
Oh, no, I agree.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You don't get better by staying in your little pond.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Some of my best advancements in painting technique, hobbying techniques have been from talking to the studio staff whenever I get a chance and be like, whoa, I'm talking to a professional and they're giving me pointers on making it better, and it shows.
Well, and
absolutely.
And especially even if you're not a competitive person, because I don't consider myself terribly competitive, but when I know I'm going up against people I identify as better than me, and I know that people are going to see it, I am pushing on myself to improve or do something different. And regardless of how that shakes out, it's always a good move.
Exactly, because the reality is don't look at it as competing with others. You're competing with your prior performances, your prior efforts, right? And by submitting your models for the competition and getting that feedback, you're able to literally measure those differences and quantify them so that you can improve. Segueing straight from the P3 Grandmaster Painting Competition, there is also Display It Painted. The rules are available on the website as well. I don't have the leak handy at the moment. I have failed you, Tony. But basically, that is where a chance where you get to show off your armies, your Monster Apocalypse forces, your Riot Quest teams on super awesome boards and displayed terrain, and basically, a more cohesive thematic experience. And it's always really cool to see what people do, especially last year. There were a number of Monster Apocalypse entries, and them creating kind of a city display that their monsters and units went on was really cool.
Oh, those were always some of my biggest things when I was getting into miniature gaming, was people putting up really cool dioramas and it was just like, wow, seeing the cinematic view. I remember one from what drew me in was my first Privateer Press game was Monster Apocalypse.
Yeah. And
seeing the Martians going down the street fighting, I think it was Defender X.
Yep.
And just seeing the little laser blasts and explosions on this diorama was so cool.
That's cool.
Oh, look at that. Travis totally popped the link into chat. Because
Travis coming through.
Bringing it.
All right. So
and at Adepticon, you can do some other stuff like playing games. We'll have War Machine there. There will be, of course, all the events are listed on the Adepticon website, which I sent to Tony, so he should be able to link that one as well.
Boom!
So there's going to be War Machine and Hordes events. There will be Riot Quest events. There's some Crush Hour events for Monster Apocalypse. And then, well, of course, if you hadn't heard already, the ATC, the America Team Championships, typically hosted by Travis Marg in January in Wisconsin, will now be held at Adepticon in Schaumburg. So show up, do that. I don't know if there's any spaces left. Last I looked, I think there was one team spot left, but I'm sure Travis will correct me.
And that's how you get flat spots.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, so just doing a quick dry fit here, bringing it back. Pretty close. I'm trying to keep that scope right in front of her right eye, just as the sniper looking down there. And it's pretty close. I've got a little tiny bit of a gap going on there, but I figure it's close enough. We'll just shove some putty in there and
Call it good.
Call
Nailed
it good.
it.
Yep. All right, next one.
Is shove some putty in there like analogous to saying we'll fix it in post for video? Just kind of the catch-all.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like, you
we'll-
can just get to a point where you're just like, that's fine.
Yeah,
we'll get
I
it.
guess.
Yeah, and if the putty work doesn't look good, we'll fix it after it's cured. We'll file it down
Just file
afterwards.
it.
Yeah,
Sa-
yeah,
get
it's
some
fine.
sand-
'cause then
Sandpaper.
it starts to work kind of like the resin does anyway. So
Exactly, yeah.
It's pretty easy to reshape after it's dried. So if you have extra material, I always
Oh.
err on the side of extra versus less.
Exactly. Yeah, I always keep extra material. One, the extra material, it's all curing at the same time.
Yep.
And I would rather go and poke my little ball of extra material rather than go and poke my putty work that I've been doing and find out, oh, it's not cured.
Now
Great.
it's divoted too much, and I have to.
Now
fill it
I've got a
more.
thumbprint in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yup.
All right. Next side of this project is where we're actually going to be removing the. Where's my pointer? We're going to be removing it right at the elbow joint here. And after we do that, we're going to be removing and doing a little bit more of a tough cut right along here. And what we're going to end up having to do is also a little bit of resculpting of this area because we're removing a bunch of material. And
Yeah.
she's got that belt and like bottom edge of the armor that needs work. So now here's
are
always
you
the
looking to cut closer. Are you going to leave a little bit of space, like some of the hand on the belt, so you can file it down, or are you trying to get as close as possible to minimize filing?
It's really hard to show on camera here,
Sure.
but we're probably going to be losing a little bit of material on the top end of the bracer area.
Sure. Okay.
And that's part of what you're doing whenever you're doing any metal cutting, cutting up a model, is planning for what you want to lose.
Right.
And being like,
Right.
okay, I have to make these compromises because I'm going to lose material.
That's why I asked the tough questions.
Yeah. And so for this one, for the elbow joint here, I'm going to make the sacrifice of losing a little bit of the forearm just because I don't want to resculpt this fiddly area of the underside of the shoulder pad.
Absolutely.
And I've already accepted that I'm having to resculpt that hand.
Sure.
And it's going to be easier just to resculpt the quick little edge on the bracer than it is to resculpt a whole bunch of the...
Yeah, it's just a little extra material, drawing a line and carving out a little piece. And
Yep.
Doom, done.
Now, here's always like the hardest part too, because it's just like, oh no, this is like the point of no return. We cannot mess it up because...
Dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun.
And it's just slow, steady,
Well,
take it easy.
We have the benefit of we can mess it up because we can go grab another guy's
That is true.
we can totally
We get to
cheat.
cheat that way all
You know what?
the time.
Actually, while we're doing this,
Uh-huh.
speaking of other Kara Sloans, we've got a really cool thing to show off on stream. Kind of a
That
quick
was
little
an
preview.
amazing segue, Brian. That was
Masterful.
pro
It was-
level.
I love
But-
segues, but I've never ridden one.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whackity schmackity.
We will show that surprise towards the end of the
Towards the
episode.
end?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got that arm off. Cut through there. You can see it's just a nice tight little gap. Haven't actually lost a whole lot of material in there, so it
No,
should
that's
be pretty okay.
actually
yeah.
very manageable.
Yeah, these jeweler saws, I love them. I've hacked up the old metal Avatar of Menoth with one of these things, doing
Sure.
like some seriously like following armor plate lines and stuff like that because it is so thin and narrow
Right.
that I can do some really big cut lines. So we're going to get that back in there.
Well, yeah, and with
And
how
if-
little material you lost there, it's basically whatever like putty you use to stick the arm in the correct position is going to be enough to refill that material.
Yep. And it's just very slow, easy following that line.
And there's a bunch of different jeweler saws available online, but this is something that hobbyists can have in their kit because they're in the area of like $15-20.
Yeah, I've had this one so long, I honestly don't even remember how much it was. I just remember I got it at a craft store in the jewelry section.
So why would you use this jeweler saw as opposed to like clippers?
Well, clippers ruin things. I'm actually just going to do it here just to show. Got a pair of clippers, and clipping this off, we'll just pretend that this little tab here, cutting it part way, you lose so much more material, and the clippers themselves rarely, if ever, come like perfectly together.
Right.
And they will have like this little offset kind of thing going on.
Well, and by nature, usually they have some kind of like on the interior side, they have some kind of like incline or bezel.
Yeah,
or
like
level.
you can see that they'll destroy one half of the part.
Right. And even where they come together, what they're actually doing before the cut is made is they're pushing material out of the way, so you
Yep.
can come up with some odd. What's the word I'm looking for? Like basically
Weird
oddly
slopes.
shaped slopes and material residue.
Yeah, and
Yeah, Dracos
What-
says clippers crush, saws cut.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Very well put. And plus, like, I don't think I've ever seen a pair of clippers that are tiny enough to do miniature scale stuff. Anytime we're talking about like tools and
And
things
even
that
if
we
they
have
did,
to
you'd
do,
have to squeeze those things so hard because they'd have no real fulcrum power to them.
yep. But yeah, everybody always talks about like the tool. Oh, there it goes.
Hey, go.
It gone. All right. What was I saying? I
Clippers
forgot.
bad, saw
Yeah,
good.
clippers bad, saw good.
Good.
All right. So you can see we've lost a fair amount of the hand there. The tip of the gauntlet's still pretty close, but good enough we can work with it. And we've got just a little bit of resculpting to do.
There you go.
Yeah, just a little bit to do on the inside there. But this should be a quick, easy fix. I'm going to set this aside right down here so I don't lose it, because that would be terrible.
You just resculpt a new one. No big deal.
Don't tell me to resculpt the whole arm. I don't like doing that.
What, are you not up for it?
Not in an hour.
Oh, come on. You got 20 minutes. You can totally do it.
20 minutes. Oh, gosh. All right. So I'm just kind of following the existing.
Sorry, jokes in chat. Striker's like, Sloan has been thoroughly disarmed.
Ah!
Bad striker. No.
No, I love puns. Please keep the puns coming.
Puns are literally my favorite thing,
Yeah, please just give it a good shot. Like,
especially because there's so many people that hate them. So putting people on tilt with a good pun,
puns.
I love it.
Not so much here, though. I feel like a lot of people are really
A lot
into
of people,
puns.
a lot of people are, but there's a couple people that are like, "Oh dear God, why?" And I'm
Nails on
like,
a chalkboard.
"Yes,
Yeah.
yes, your pain sustains me."
So for filling in this area here, what I'm kind of looking at is connecting the dots between the back area of the model and the front area. So basically pretending that this strap here would go all the way through and then having to redo and just camouflage it.
Right.
Honestly, that's what a lot of my job is camouflaging what's happening.
Sure.
When I'm cleaning masters and things like that, they're as close to the original as humanly possible, but even masters are going to have like mold lines and things like that going through belts, rivets,
That's just
whatever.
physics.
Yeah. And you know, it's never going to be exact, so I kind of have to make it up as I go along a little bit and kind of camouflage things. I always describe it when people ask me what I do specifically. It's like, ultimately with my job, if you don't know what I'm doing, chances are I'm doing a great job then, because you don't know what I've done.
Yeah.
All right.
Cradlow mentioned using toenail clippers. I have used toenail and fingernail clippers very often in removing detail, right? Just because it's pulling the material away, so I don't run into as much of the problem.
Oh,
But
yeah,
they're
yeah.
still not quite as delicate as, depending on the material, either the hobby knife or a jeweler's saw.
You know, I think I've used toenail clippers for generic hobbying more than a few times. Mostly as like that emergency travel kit kind of a thing where it's like, I don't have my tools with me, but I really want to use this model in like a convention or like at an event or something like that. So I'm like, I don't have my tools, and I had a
But
bottle.
I do have a hygiene kit.
Yeah, I've got a pair of nail clippers that I borrowed from somebody, and I've got a nail file that the little swivel out back one, and I've got what was I using for that? Like a toothpick or something like that to apply glue and just
Toothpicks are great for
Oh,
that.
they're great.
They are the hobbyist's secret best friend. Keep
Oh,
a
yeah.
box of small toothpicks for anything. Want to paint the pupils in some eyes? Toothpick.
Yeah. I want to put this
Wanna
trim
do
in,
a
just
bunch
super
of-
glue.
Yep.
Done.
Want to do a bunch of fine detail stuff on your base? Toothpick.
Yeah.
Want to trace lines in resin so that you can add texture? Toothpick.
Oh yeah. Or you want to put the head of an enemy model on a pike? Toothpick.
That's true.
Yep. I've done that in the past. Get some of my buddies' opposing armies extra head bits and stuff like that, and just be like, yeah. And it just drove him nuts. He's like, why would you do that to me?
Because your sadness sustains me.
Yep. All right. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but because, again, like this isn't the focal point of a model or anything like that. It's just kind of like one of those side details. Chances are nobody's going to be really looking at the underside of a gun.
Well, especially with a little bit of putty.
Yep.
Once it's primed, you're going to basically add surface area and material to it.
Exactly, yeah.
And then paint itself, and then any sealing you do on your model, and they're not going to be able to see anything.
And chances are, like, this is something too that I run into an awful lot. Working on a physical model or something like that, I will physically, like, I'll know where the little imperfections are.
Sure.
And because I'm the one that's super close to the work, I've been working on something for 48 hours or something like that. And then as soon as you turn it in, or somebody like comes to check on and see where things are at, they'll look at it and be like, yeah, that's great. It's like,
No, it's not.
You can't see my flaws.
But again, it's just, different eyes coming at it from different angles and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, a couple more Kara Sloan puns.
Oh.
Sloan is currently stumped. Nailed it.
Yeah. She's.
And when you're all said and done, will she be able to see the scope of her problems?
I will shut this chat window down. I'm just saying.
I have a separate
If
computer.
this
I do what I want.
behavior continues, I will not reinforce it.
Please keep it coming, Chad. Come on.
So, as we have now determined, Tony is one of the ones who does not appreciate our
minority.
I
punishment.
admit I always have mixed feelings. Like my kind of upfront rule is that like puns make me eye roll and I don't really care for them. But then some good ones secretly deep down you'll get a chuckle out of me.
Yeah, but it's such a.
It's worth trying. Pretend I never said that.
It's such a worthwhile bit of spice added to life.
All right. So we got that re-sculpted in there. I think that should be good enough that nobody's really going to see it. Next thing we want to do is we're going to readjust the angle here, because what we've done is, where is it? The way her elbow is bent, this way she's kind of got her hip. Yeah. Going that way where it's kind of bent like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bent more like that. So what we're having to do is now repose the arm so that it's coming out and reattaching it more at the
forearm.
The forearm in the inside of the arm, which it's kind of weird because of the joint here. It's more on the outside of the elbow just because of the way that it was. So we're going to have to clean that up so that, because now it's outward facing.
Right.
And we're going to take the inside of this arm and we're reattaching it to where it would go with the rifle.
You need it to be settled correctly because Kara Sloan aims to please.
Yes, she does. Oh.
Let's see if Tony eye rolled. He's focused on work.
Oh.
Thanks, chat. Keep going.
No, there are daggers being stared here.
Reluctant applause.
So again, just camouflaging what we've done. And what I'm doing
Imperfections? Ignore me.
No, hide them. Just
Yeah.
It's like a happy little tree. You just happy little imperfection. Nobody tell anybody.
Imperfections? These are birds now.
Yeah. If you got imperfections all over the place, it's just
No,
texture.
No, if it's birds, we're talking about old witch. You know.
I'm down. Whatever that leads to.
We're not doing
witch.
the old witch conversion. This is Kara Sloan. All right.
Old witch Sloan?
Oh, are we doing that now? We're just
I
going to
don't
start
know.
blending characters together?
I mean, why not?
I did actually do a really fun conversion that I never really finished working on, but taking the Sacral Vault and replacing the Voodoo Gator on the top of it and putting a bunch of the Blood Witches? No, not Blood Witches. I just totally had a mind blank. The
Tharn Blood
Tharns?
Yeah, the Tharn
Bloodweaver Haru
Bloodweavers, yeah. Putting those surrounding the altar dude on the top and then having it pulled by a couple of the Tharn Ravagers.
Nice.
And just working on some vines coming from the top of it as they're pulling it. So that was kind of a fun one.
The Sacral Vault and Throne of Everblight, in my experience on the internets, are both very often
The most converted.
yeah. Vaults, or at least very regularly converted, like things on top being different things and all kinds of other details being switched around just to give it flavor. But that's one of the reasons I like big old resin kits.
Yeah.
So easy to modify.
Yeah.
One of the favorites is, where'd it go? Oh, no. Black-clad holding a heart and pushing it with Ravagers.
Nice. Yeah,
Nice.
having the black lad up on top. Yep.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Love it. All right. So we can see this is just kind of hidden a bit there. I might just go and grab like a little scratching tool because she's got like these little lines going across on the elbows.
Yeah.
Again, super hard to see on camera, but these are little tiny details that might show up as you're painting it. So I'm just going to take
It's
a little.
almost like white metal that hasn't been primed yet, sitting under a bright light. It makes it difficult to see the details.
Well, it's also, super shiny and everything too
teeny
because I've been
tiny.
cutting. Yeah, so we'll just put in a few of those scratch marks just to replicate the, notch work that's already going on there. And there we go. And so again, we're doing a lot of dry fitting on this because I don't want to go and like stick this rifle on there just yet because there's so many adjustments that need to be made. Once I get it stuck there, it's stuck there.
Right.
And it's like, okay, maybe we can adjust the rifle a little bit more. Maybe we can adjust the forearm a little bit more. But I think we're getting pretty close to the point where we can
Start affixing.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go and do that.
Look
Even
at you
if it
go.
is just tacked on there kind of a thing, just a little bit of tiny, tiny drop of glue just to kind of like hold it there.
Sure.
Dry fitting is one of those things that I know in my head is the right thing to do, and I seldom ever actually follow that advice.
It's one of those things that is just not done nearly enough and not stressed enough.
Yeah, it's like, don't cut towards you. Don't stand on the top step of a ladder. I'm just going to finish playing this video game till I get back to town. Like that kind of stuff.
I just need to get
Never
to the save
works
point.
out the way it's intended.
All right. Got that glue there. There we go. Yeah.
Aim the knife away from your face. Travis,
What?
Danny.
I think everybody has seen that
Yeah.
image, the meme of the people doing hobbying, and all of a sudden, like first panel, they're just hobbying. Next one, they like cut themselves, and it just like progressively gets worse.
They've got like various like pinning rods stuck in and out of like fingernails and all
that's the
kinds of
backpack.
horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So
You build a tolerance to it eventually, though.
Yeah. Your hands develop significant calluses.
Yeah.
It becomes
yeah.
less about did it happen and more a matter of degree. Like, oh, this one's not so bad.
You start only aiming away from your good eye.
this is fine. This is fine.
I noticed I was doing it really wrong when my daughter was watching me do stuff with a blade, and I started doing stuff, and as I did it, I realized what I was doing and then self-correct
Oh,
in
yeah.
front of her. It's like, when you do that, you probably shouldn't do it at all.
No, it's very much one of those do as I say, not as I do, because I cut towards myself all the time.
too.
But like my skin on my fingers is like ridiculously thick.
Yeah.
Like I have to work to really gouge myself now. And two, like I've just developed a lot of really good feel for all the materials that I work with. That it's like I know when that material is going to give.
There's not only that, but there's a little bit of muscle memory that comes from repeated injury.
Yeah.
You know when to pull away at the last second before you hurt yourself, really. Yeah. Mostly, yeah.
Mostly.
You get close.
I may or may not have gouged my finger the other day.
So as we can see here, I've kind of got that elbow stuck there, but it's not quite in the area that I want to do it. And to get that hand up to where I want to go, I'm either going to have to remove some material from the elbow or the upper arm area of the model here. And I think I'm going to end up doing a mix of both. Just kind of split the difference, so to speak. Just carve away a little bit of that. Kind of what I'm doing right now is actually creating a key, more or less. So we have that like nice flat little spot there, and what I'm doing is creating just from like
just a place for that to
fit working
into.
With the model. I've got a really good idea of the exact shape of the elbow joint. So what I'm doing is just kind of carving away something similar enough.
And
glue
what
makes
you're
a wonderful
away
filler.
Looks like it's either part of clothing or something like that that would give for an arm. You know what I
You'd
mean?
be surprised the amount of clipping that goes on.
Sure.
Once you really start looking at some of the models and you're like looking at it, it's like that really wouldn't be like that, but there's no other way for it to actually fit.
Right.
It comes back to that what I was talking about earlier with the Assyria model, where it's just like flat
Until you get it together.
Yeah.
You're like, but wait.
Center up, Brian.
Yeah, that's something we're always fighting with in digital, getting the engineering done with making things interact and look appropriate. But sometimes you just gotta suck it up and deal with it. Yeah, you gotta fake it. You gotta make it producible, and that's king over everything else.
Yep.
Well, so what are some of the common like generic things that you have to adjust on a miniature to make it look good as a miniature that aren't necessarily representative of how things would be in real life?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Usually your head, hand, and feet size have to be ridiculously out of proportion. You see it on the model on the screen. You're like, this does not look right. And then you see it printed out, and you're like, oh, wow, that looks amazing.
Right.
That's something that blew my mind when I first started getting into this, just how out of proportion miniatures
like
are.
Where it's going to be something like, you know, like when you talk about like 3D modeling, especially digitally, if it's going to be like on screen, like say in a video game or something like that, it can be much more true proportion and it's still going to read fine.
Right.
Especially if your rigger and animator know what they're doing. But when you get to that physical space, because of the level of detail at that scale, you have to over exaggerate some things in order to even just get them to appear.
Here, exactly. And that's something else we end up fighting with is sometimes when the sculpts come in, they'll have this super high fidelity information, and it's like it looks amazing on screen, but that's not going to print. It's not going to be reproducible.
Or
so
it would
we
be
got
a nightmare to put together a paint.
or be exactly
Yeah.
put together just everything. So what I do a lot of is take down that level of detail, and then I take a few parts of it and I try to really explode it out and make it
Exaggerate it,
bigger and more bold and prominent than what it actually is.
Sometimes it takes a lot of test printing too, where it's just like, is this going to show up?
One of the things that always kind of like first comes to me is either like a lot of like the Menoth Warjacks will have like filigree that's like indented in and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that has to be super exaggerated to have like extra space between it, have those lines broaden and stuff like that, so that one, they show up, and two, you can actually paint them.
Right.
And then scorn armor.
Scorn armor, the Martians. That's another one. There's
Yeah,
little
the
circuitry in there
grooves and stuff.
Yeah, trying to make those pop a little bit more.
Oh no! Oh man! Oof! Oh, Draco's Dragoon! Yikes! Working on a model with my knife, broke and went into his thumb. Stopped when it hit the bone. Ouch!
It's in the bone. That
Ouch.
sucks.
Oh!
Dang, that sucks.
Oh man!
I remember when I was younger, I was just starting to get into hobbying and doing this stuff, and I'm dumb. I was like, I don't know, 11 maybe, and I was trying to take my blade, and I think I was working on a pewter or white metal, and I tried to clean it, and I tried to get in this space, and it wasn't going, so I just shoved it in, and
Right.
I I was using one of those terrible straight blades because I didn't know any better.
Right.
And the tip of it broke off and went right into my tear duct.
Yikes.
I was okay. Got it out. No big deal.
Okay, so I have a question for the both of you.
Privateer Press recommends wearing safety eyewear.
Yeah,
protective
especially if you're
eyewear.
trying to leverage your knife through a thing.
So, question for both of you: Do you guys like playing War Machine?
Yes, I love playing War Machine.
Do you guys like playing Riot Quest?
Love Riot Quest.
Yes.
Do you guys like playing Monster Apocalypse?
Yeah.
It was my first game at Privateer Press. Yes.
Are you excited to play Warcaster?
Yeah.
As soon as I know more about it, I am super amped. I've seen a bunch of the sculpts and some of the art
the
stuff.
preliminary
I've
stuff.
seen some of the stuff coming through, and I'm super excited about the world.
And I'm working with it right now, and it's a lot of fun.
I've played it.
Well, because
I'm gonna shake my fist at you.
Oh, that's my big flex right now.
I may or may not have gotten to do last night, but because you answered yes to all those questions, and I'm sure that a number of people in chat and watching this later are going to answer yes to all those questions, I wanted to talk real quickly about Lock and Load.
Lock and load.
Lock and Load.
That's my
Game
favorite
Fest.
con because it's literally around the corner for
Right?
me.
Yeah.
Literally. And you get to do all those things I was just talking about. But Lock and Load will be returning to the Bellevue in Hilton, which is where we were last year and the year before. That will be June 26th through the 28th of this year, 2020. You will also notice a little logo next to the Lock and Load logo. It is also the 20th anniversary of Privateer Press. So we're going to do a lot of really cool stuff. Some of it you'll be able to see on the events page when it goes live. Spoiler alert, later today. So pplockandload.com. Tickets will be on sale later today. I'm just doing some final testing and verifying some event information, making sure the schedule doesn't conflict and all that other kind of good stuff. Then that will be going live, and you will be able to get your tickets, sign up for a bunch of events. There are some events that are not on there yet.
Ooh, mystery.
So one of the things that folks will want to do, and we'll definitely post insiders and announcements and stuff when new events go live, is there will be a lot more than what you just see when we kick the site live later today.
Awesome. You guys got to come. It's 20 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be big.
I remember the 10-year anniversary. I was at like doing my thing around here, and it's just like, has it been that long already? Oh no.
Yep. So yeah, once again, June 26th through the 28th, Bellevue, Hilton. So same place it's been the last couple of years, and I cannot wait. So last year was the first one that I was in charge of as convention manager, and of course there was a lot of pressure and like insanity and madness, and that will come to me.
Yeah.
But
It always does.
Based on some of the stuff that I'm planning, that I've been talking with Matt about, that I've been talking with some of the other folks in the studio about, and stuff like that, I am stupid excited.
Good.
Like
It's gonna be so
over like all the anxiety and like all the things that it takes to make that show happen. I am ridiculously hyped.
Get more comfortable in your seat, more confident. and
It's
gonna be
not that,
amazing.
right?
Oh.
Because there's always like points of failure and things that can go wrong, and you know,
Right.
having anxiety means that I constantly worry about those. But the level of excitement is so much higher right now that like I can't wait.
Good.
Chat, raise your hand if you're planning to go to Lock and Load, because I want to know who's going to be there, who I'll be able to talk to in person.
Travis, raise your hand.
Travis will be there. We know Travis will be
You
there.
don't have a choice.
All right. We are getting real close here. The dry fitting is looking pretty good. I've carved out a little notch under the arm there. I've taken away a bunch of the fist. If you saw me just using the clippers there, that was because I don't care about the detail on the hand because I'm removing it anyways, and I know I'm getting rid of a whole bunch of material, and I can remove more material faster with the pair of clippers than I can with just a knife.
That makes sense.
So, excusing my big old fat fingers here, you can see that fits in nice and snug there. The hand is right about where I want it, and I'll be able to sculpt some putty in there real fast. And she is coming right along. Put a little bit of glue right there. And that's the part two.
Center up, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that the finish is within your sights?
No, I wouldn't say that, John.
I wouldn't say it's out of a scope of possibilities. This is always the hard part, is getting these fiddly little bits that aren't technically meant to fit together.
Tony, are you saying that all of our Kara Sloan puns have you triggered?
Yeah.
Are you upset that we keep sniping at you?
I'm just going to be unresponsive from now on. Give you the satisfaction of knowing what it feels like.
All right. So it's not quite as snug as, some of the professionally done, like, digital engineered keys.
Things that wizards do?
Yeah, it's not engineer wizarded in there, but this is good enough that what we can do is,
especially as you sculpt in some of the, fix some of the putty.
Yeah, we're going to be reinforcing this with a little bit more glue. I actually do use super glue a fair amount for sculpting and gap filling.
Because it dries hard.
Yep.
Right, so it's pretty stable, and you can use a file on it, and it will hold primer. So when you go to paint, absolutely.
I do that a lot. My glue, I'm like not too sure about a joint. I'm just like, I'm going to put some putty up in there.
I'll just fill it with glue.
Yeah. Well, and the other benefit to doing all the trimming, filing, sawing, and other things that you've done to the metal is it has already created a surface that's going to respond well to glue and
exactly
enhance the hold anyway.
Exactly. What a lot of people do
when they score the model.
Score the model, and a real big one is wash your models before you do anything with them.
Absolutely.
Because they got mold release and talc and people's fingers touching them. Like the thing that
someone's got to put it in a box.
Well, I was actually just going to mention when I first started here many, many, many years ago, it blew me away how the degree that all of these miniatures that we make are handmade. It's not just some machine where you just kind of
push a button
and parts just come out. Right. It's hand spun metal and
literally people like
hand
Tanner
port
and Ian and everyone else over in the casting
Jeremy
department. Literally hand making the miniatures for you.
Yep.
Yeah, it probably goes through at least I would say a dozen people's hands before you get to probably actually more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's not even factoring in the shipping and stuff. There's a lot of people that have come into contact with all them.
So, question I have for what you've got going on there as you work on getting that last arm in place. If people don't want to convert Kara Sloan, but they wanted to see something a lot like her or is her but different, what would they do?
Well, very subtle. Yes, thank you. I wasn't following where you were going with that.
Pointing.
We are going to do
literally
We are going to do a quick little thing. I'm just going to go a slow little pan.
Oh, stop right there. Don't show it.
Don't show it?
No, we're going to do kit bashers first.
Kit bash.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Kit bashers. The
Tony!
tease.
Oh, you're so good.
Vicious.
I know. I'm really bad, but it is kind of a lot of fun. So this is for all the puns. All right.
Don't punish the
Don't
viewers
punish
for
us.
our fun.
All right. Let's take a look at some kit bash models. It was kind of giving me some buttons earlier, so we did have a sneak peek. But P3 Kit Bashers, if
P3
you
Kit Bashers.
have done a conversion of a model, any sort of hobbying, please send it to Instagram, hashtag P3 Kit Bashers, because we love looking at what everyone is working on, and we kind of pull some every week, or every episode rather, just kind of show off and show what kind of cool things people are doing. And I'm going to show off a few here, and we can talk about them and wow over them, and they're very neat. So here we go.
Nice.
So this is the first one. We kind of previewed this one before. So LuckGod84, who is in our chat right now, posted pics of this galleon at my request during this episode. So we were able to get these photos in, but it's kind of done.
Look at the turnaround.
Really cool conversion up here on the top, adding a bunch of
Pirates are so happy.
balsa wood boards and supports.
Oh, I love it. I love seeing people using doing actual woodwork and stuff for planking. It looks so good.
What else you got, Tony?
I got to fit on there. I don't want to finish looking. This is a bunch of barrels and things on top too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, more details.
Yeah, they need their grog.
Okay. This is very awesome. Oh, look, this is like
Oh,
There's like
dang.
multiple
So
versions
much.
of this, so it's
Yeah,
not
he's saying
even
he's got it magnetized
Yeah.
so he can swap
Oh,
out
wow.
what crew.
either that or there's like 7 galleons here.
Well, I mean, that's
That's the only way
That's
we
really
should.
yeah,
awesome,
Yeah.
yeah.
You need more galleons.
Look at that.
So yeah,
Wow.
so
Wow.
Luck God's actually in chat saying as options for each caster, the barrels are for Bart, the sails are for Shay.
Super cool. Yeah, very nice, Luck
Oh,
God.
I
Thank
like
you.
that. Wow, thank you.
That looks really good.
Just mentioning here, one of my favorite things about like sharing kit bashers and stuff like that is getting inspiration, and that's
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
that's what a lot of this. Like I'm doing this Karis Sloan conversion right now. Can you just do this one exactly? Sure, why not? But it's hopefully inspiring people to show
Might
that you
give them
can
an
do a
idea to
bunch
do
of other
something else,
ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it helps recontextualize what you already know.
Or
Yeah.
maybe they want to take the Arcane Tempest Rifleman and put them in the Karis Sloan pose,
No.
yeah.
There you go.
right?
Isn't he crouching though? I don't know.
He
how.
is, but he could still have a, like.
Oh,
look like
oh,
he's-
yes, I
yeah.
see. Yeah.
And for our next one, another viewer in chat right now is talking about Gareth 2 and being able to like do some cutting of Gareth's arm with a lot of saw work, and then putting that gun over the shoulder and adding a strap here, like he's walking all cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
with
I
the
dig
rifle
it.
slung rather than aiming. He's kind of did the opposite
Dude,
of
he
what
totally
what you've done today.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
looking more cash.
He looks like he's ready to slow motion walk away from an
He is
explosion.
definitely
Oh,
slow motion walking
absolutely.
away
Right?
from an
Or
explosion.
slow mo walking away from a dude falling over from a headshot. Right? Like,
He's already
Yeah.
slung it on his
He's
back.
like-
he's
he's
just
like-
walking away.
and then just
The guy doesn't realize the shot's actually coming still.
yeah,
Those
total
look
rock
good.
outro. Yeah.
And then for this last one, for our very first hobby hangout, we've seen some photos of this, but we have the Kadoran Heavy Cannon kit available, and so we've been seeing a lot of builds of those kits, and this one was kind of neat. So we've
Show me.
seen these finalized ones,
Oh yeah, yeah. I
the
saw
custom
the
cannon builds. Yeah,
the work in progress
we've
ones.
seen this one in progress before. And then I thought this was neat. I wanted to put this on here because we also get a table shot of seeing them
Oh, nice.
in play on a table in a game,
Yes.
which is very cool to see them being
Because
actually used. So thanks to
hobby-
Halfbot.
Hobbying and painting is 20 times cooler when you put it on a table.
Wait, Halfbot.
Yes.
I think Halfbot has a different name in our chat, but I can't remember what it was. Oh no,
That's Alec.
that's Alec. Thank you. That's right, Alec. Nice work.
Alec Luda,
Good
who
job.
sends candy from Germany.
So good. I love seeing all these conversions. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing to that hashtag P3KitBashers. So good. All right. What were we doing?
I had interrupted you with another surprise.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a really slow tease
So
again.
you like Sloan.
Yeah. All right.
You want something a little different, but you don't want to do a kit bash.
Yeah, see, I'm actually playing a lot of Red Dead Online right now, just casually being a cowboy. So seeing this, it's just like, the Sloan Ranger. Yeah. Oh, she looks so cool. I love the idea of her sniper rifle now just being like somebody,
Like a
picking
long
somebody
barrel
off
pistol,
with a
yeah.
pistol from 14 inches away. Weapon master.
Kara Sloan.
Oh, it's high noon. I love it. And this is one of the first test print kind of a thing, so it may not be exactly, but it's going to be really dang close.
You know, it'd be a cool conversion for that. Put it on horseback. Yeah.
Grandmaster Gabriel Throne, give me a horse.
Doesn't he have like this? No, I'm thinking the other guy. Never mind. I was thinking the one with the infernal one. I can't remember his name.
Valen Hawk.
Yeah, that's the one. I was like,
Luck
undead
God
horse.
says Craze Horse would work best. Craze Horse
Yeah.
would work very well, yes. In fact, at that point, you probably just cut it off at the waist and just...
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
tack it
yeah,
on.
you could actually.
Why resculpt
Well, I'm
and
actually.
repose the legs when
Right.
you can just like, hey,
Well-
everybody's got legs.
Do something with that cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually even looking at it here. If you just, trim out that center cape area,
Yeah.
you could almost get her on a horse.
Almost,
Yep.
yeah.
Just a
She's
little bit
not
of a bend to
not
the legs.
quite enough wide enough stance. And then as far as the cape, realistically, all I do with those, I'm trying to remember which model it was, had a cape, and I converted it to a mounted one. Sadly, I don't have it anymore. But all I did was I cut the cape about a quarter of an inch above where it would meet with the horse. trimmed some of the excess material off and just kind of sculpted,
Putty it up
putty,
so it looked
so it
flat.
looked like it was just laying.
Yeah.
All right.
So Kaiser says, "How do I give you money for that model?" I assume he's referring to the Sloan Ranger.
Oh, the Sloan Ranger?
It's
You can
really
pay it
easy.
directly to Tony Konachek, care of Privateer Press.
Or instead of doing
Yeah.
that, you go to mini-crate.com and it will be showing up there in the not too distant future, and then you just subscribe
Yeah.
and get that.
Yeah,
And then
I can't
it
remember
shows up at your
specifically
house.
when. Like,
Yeah.
it's a few months out still, but
But then it just comes to your house or office or wherever you have your parcels delivered, and Tony doesn't get involved in any kind of embezzling.
yeah.
It's not embezzling if he actually gets the model.
Yes, actually, that is specifically embezzling if money that is supposed to go to the company goes to a private person instead for goods and or services rendered by the business.
I think we're leaving a lot of details out of here.
Yeah,
that is-
I am certainly not a lawyer, but that doesn't sound.
That
Go where your heart directs
we don't
you.
have Brent or Lyle Lowry, so I have to be like the closest thing we have to a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer. So,
But he speaks as the authority.
No,
of
but
one.
as con manager, like that I'm the closest we get. And yeah, that's embezzlement, Tony.
All right, so just going in with some brown stuff here and puttying in that little gap. Fill it in the backside there, and now coming in and filling in that arm a little bit. Taking away the excess. Oh my gosh, we are running a little late. Oh no.
This is bonus content.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Can we make this like subscriber only? If you want to see the finish,
yeah.
it's
A lot
those
of people-
horrible.
No, that's harsh.
Yeah, we would never do that.
Make
Yeah,
people
we like hanging
angry.
out with people too much.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's good
Cool
enough.
emotes and stuff? Absolutely. Maybe like some kind of like extra access thing later or something like that? Absolutely. But blocking people from hanging out? Never.
That's not cool. All right, so get off of there. What I'm gonna do now is kind of show quick and dirty sculpting a hand. So I got this little putty glob on my palette here. If you see the hand, I always kind of like when I'm doing hands, look at them like the vague shape of it. It's kind of like, think of those like mittens. And I'm just gonna take this.
A vaguely hand-shaped mitten shape
Yep,
that
vaguely
you can carve
hand-shaped mitten shape.
details into later.
And I'm going to peel that off. Oop,
No.
drop it.
It's gone. It's gone forever.
Yep.
Oh, you have no idea how much that actually happens. And
So
It
much.
hurts all the time.
Oh man, that's the worst when you almost got it done and you're trying like, all right, let me just smooth this one piece, and it just like flies off. You're like, no.
Oh, no, the worst is sculpting on something. Like, usually it's a rivet. Getting all this time, making it absolutely perfect. You're like, okay, it's good. You go and let it cure.
And then it just
And then
falls
it's
off.
like, okay, got to do a little bit of the finishing work, just a quick little polish here,
And
and,
it
then
just
boo, and it's gone. And you're like, I can't even glue that back on. It's gone.
Yeah.
It is lost in the carpet.
Yep.
I hate it when I'm sure that it's 6 inches from my feet, and then when I find it, it was 12 feet away somewhere
Yeah,
else.
it bounced.
So that's
6
why,
weeks
that's
later.
Why, that's why no carpet, only hardwood floors.
Yeah.
Right. Or like some other like like smooth flat surface. I recommend concrete for all your living areas, and then no pets.
Oh yeah. Shuffle the spirit real quick.
no, I don't.
Because the worst thing is when parts go flying, your dog's like, "Ooh, mine now."
And when you sweep up in your studio, you have to kind of do the panning for gold, sift
Yeah,
through
sift through it.
of your dustpan, make sure you
What
didn't get
various
anything
bits
you
and
lost a
bobs
while
am I
ago.
hiding
Yeah.
in here? Yep.
Yeah, I've done that far too often, and it's way too much time wasted just sifting garbage.
Let God's got it right. No vacuums in the hobby area.
Vacuums are right out. Unless you have like one of the clear container ones where you can literally sift through the,
Oh yeah.
Oh no! That reminded me. One of my ferrets snuck into my studio area and found my flock.
Oh
And
no.
those little buggers love to dig. And next thing you know, it's just I come in here and I see like little green footprints all over it, and I hear this dig, dig, dig. I'm like, oh no!
amazing.
That's when the vacuum is allowed in that.
That's mo different.
Your ferrets were a little bit more green that day.
A little green.
Yeah.
Time for a
It's
bath.
like, you have a cat snake.
Oh, I've got 3 cat snakes.
3 cat snakes.
3 cat snakes. And I love them. All right.
Ferrets are pretty great. I love when they get all hoppy, bouncy, happy.
Oh, God. Oh,
Like, and their whole
they're
body
insane.
does this weird little accordion.
Yeah.
They basically break physics because
Yeah.
they bounce in every single direction
At
all at
once.
once.
Yeah.
Yep. All
And
right.
kind of twist midair and like kind of spasm, and it's like they're just so happy. It's like they have too much happy, and their little bodies can't contain it.
Yep. So, got the general shape of the hand here. I got a little bit excess putty on my blade, so I'm going to get that off.
So when you use the blade for applying putty and stuff like that, do you ever use like a little bit of like Vaseline or lip gloss or anything?
That's
to
actually what I'm doing right now. It's
Look
just a
at you go.
little bit of petroleum jelly on there, not too much, just enough to go.
Yeah, 'cause you don't want it getting into the material, but you want it to release
Not
from the tool.
Yeah, not stick to my tool. And so we got that little glob, vaguely hand-shaped, and then you just kind of go in, and I'm on screen, and you go, boop,
Sound effects are important.
boop,
If you don't do sound effects, how do they know that you're doing it?
boop,
That's fair.
just like that. Go
We
around
have
the
Tony set up, like, little
backside.
graphics to say boom, clop, sha.
Oh,
It just
oh,
hits
I'm
it on
get-
the screen every time.
Don't tempt me to fill my day with more things.
Oh, dude, well,
Please.
you're already aware of Tony Explosions, right?
Tony
What?
Explosions?
Tony Explosions.
Tell me.
So Tony Explosions, like if you go watch like the War Machine and Hordes tutorial videos, like when certain models are like removed from play or blown up,
Oh,
there's a little
yes.
Tony Explosion and the model like tips over or disappears. I love Tony Explosions.
Oh, that's a Tony explosion. I didn't
That's
know
a
that had a
Tony
name. That's
explosion.
great.
All right.
Whenever we do another Riot Quest video, we need like just a crap load of Tony Explosions
so
in that
many.
thing. Like because like between gubbin, flubbin, and other things that cause things to go boom.
Yeah. Oh,
Can we get a Warjack doing like the Kool-Aid Man through like the
Oh,
back
through a
wall?
wall.
or
I almost got
something?
Ron Cruzy
Yeah.
to do that through the Gen Con booth. This last
Nice.
Well, because like for anyone who was at Gen Con this last year, our new booth layout has kind of a Lego fortress, like a privateer thing. And I was like, well, instead of taking it down brick by brick, Ron, why don't you just Kool-Aid Man through this thing? I was vetoed.
Yeah, once you see it put together, you're just like, yeah,
Apparently-
I need to run through it.
Apparently, that's not safe or OSHA approved or something.
Whatever.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So we got our fingers more or less sculpted on there. Again, this is just the roughing in work. We can always just do a little bit more after it's cleaned up.
Is that just like P3 aluminum putty?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. P3 aluminum putty. That's my favorite. Although for a nice organic shape like fingers, green stuff would work totally fine too.
Yeah.
Whatever putty suits your fancy. Now going on to the back side of the rifle here, we got to add that thumb because she's gripping it, and I always double triple check. It's like
Left hand, right.
Which-
pose it. It's like which side is the thumb on, because you don't want to be that person that has the thumb on the wrong side. And it's just a matter of taking a little nub of putty there and just sticking it in there.
Tony explosion.
Tony explosion. Actually, it's more like a Tony splort.
Sport.
Oh.
Splort that putty
my.
in there. And
Right out there went the explosion. And another one.
and there we go. Just like that. You can see a little thumb back there. And yeah, trying to get that. And there we go. Now, we just got these little extra add-ons that can just go exactly where they're supposed to go. You got the sword there. We're not going to stick it on. And got the smokestack. Goes right there. And now we've got a Kara Sloan model that is aiming down her sniper rifle.
Nice.
That is dope.
Look at that.
Kill shot.
And only 20 minutes over.
Well,
So, thank you everybody so much for tuning in today. I had a lot of fun with Kaylin and John Swinkles today.
Thanks
and
for letting me
Tony,
hang
of
out
course.
and interrupt you and destroy Tony's life with puns.
yeah.
Yes,
I
the
mean, that was
puns.
the highlight, really.
And thank you everybody who subscribed, resubscribed, tuned in, followed. We appreciate everything. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching.